Welcome to this episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. I am your host, founder, and executive director of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes. Today, we're going to be uh, looking at some facts, some information that, like all our episodes, is very timely. And I just want you to keep in the back of your mind a couple of the episodes we did last year with David and Amanda Solomon. Uh, as we talk through this as previous guests and the topics that we were bringing up, which unfortunately are occurring. So what I'm actually gonna do here at the beginning is something that we've never done before. I'm going to read 158 names of United States House of Representatives. After the reading of the 158 members of the United States House of Representatives, we're going to dive into what this all means. Why did I take time to read these? So bear with us. So again, there's going to be 158 names. So I'm going to read the name and the state that the representative is associated with. Alma Adams, North Carolina. Pete Aguilar, California. Gabe Amo, Rhode Island. Jake Auchincloss, Massachusetts. Becca Dowlant, Vermont. Donette Barragan, California. Joyce Beatty, Ohio. Ami Berra, California. Donald Bayer, Virginia. Sanford D. Bishop Jr., Georgia. Earl Blumenauer, Oregon. Suzanne Bonamici, Oregon. Lisa Blunt, Rochester, Delaware. Jamal Bowman, New York. Chantel Brown, Ohio. Julia Brownlee, California. Corey Bush, Missouri. Salud Carbajal, California. Tony Cardenas, California. Andre Carson, Indiana. Troy Carter, Louisiana. Greg Kassar, Texas. Ed Case, Hawaii. Sean Caston, Illinois. Kathy Castor, Florida. Joaquin Castro, Texas. Sheila Sherflis McCormick, Florida. Judy Chu, California. Catherine Clark, Massachusetts. Yvette Clark, New York. Emmanuel Cleaver, Missouri. James Clyburn, South Carolina. Steve Cohen, Tennessee. Gerald Connolly, Virginia. Luis Correa, California. Jim Costa, California. Jasmine Crockett, Texas. Jason Crow, Colorado. Danny Davis, Illinois. Madeline Dean, Pennsylvania. Diana DeJet, Colorado. Rosa DeLauro, Connecticut. Suzanne Delbene, Washington. Mark D. Solinier, California. Debbie Dingle, Michigan. Lloyd Doggett, Texas. Veronica Escobar, Texas. Anna Eshu, California. Adriano Espadet, New York. Lizzie Fletcher, Texas. Bill Foster, Illinois. Valerie Fucci, North Carolina. Lois Frankel, Florida. Maxwell Frost, Florida. John Jaramendi, California. Jesus Chuy Garcia, Illinois. Robert Garcia, California. Sylvia Garcia, Texas. Dan Goldman, New York. Jimmy Gomez, California. Al Green, Texas. James Himes, Connecticut. Steny Hoyer, Maryland. Valerie Hoyle, Oregon. Jared Huffman, California. Glenn Ivey, Maryland. Jonathan Jackson, Illinois. Sarah Jacobs, California. Pramelia Jayapal, Washington. Hakeem Jeffries, New York. Henry Hank Johnson, Georgia. Sydney Kamlagar Dove, California. Bill Keating, Massachusetts; Robin Kelly, Illinois; Ro Khanna, California; Dan Kildee, Michigan; Derek Kilmer, Washington; Andy Kim, New Jersey; Raha Krishnamurthy, Illinois; Ann Kuster, New Hampshire; Greg Lansman, Ohio; Rick Larson, Washington; John Larson, Connecticut; Barbara Lee, California; Summer Lee, Pennsylvania; Teresa Legar Fernandez, New Mexico; Ted Lieu, California; Zoe Lofgren, California; Doris Matsui, California; Lucy McBath, Georgia; Jennifer McClellan, Virginia; Betty McCollum, Minnesota; Morgan McGarvey, Kentucky; James McGovern, Massachusetts; Gregory Meeks, New York; Rob Menendez, New Jersey; Grace Ming, New York; Kwasi Mafume, Maryland; Glenn Moore, Wisconsin; Joseph Morelli, New York; Seth Mouton, Massachusetts; Kevin Mullen, California; Gerald Nadler, Jerry Nadler, New York; Grace Napolitano, California; Richard Neal, Massachusetts; Joe Neguse, Colorado; Donald Norcross, Donald Norcross, New Jersey; Alexandra Ocasio Cortez, New York; Ilhan Omar, Minnesota; Frank Pallone, New Jersey; Nancy Pelosi, California; Scott Peters, California; Brittany Peterson, Colorado; Dean Phillips, Minnesota; Shelley Pingree, Maine; Mark Pecan, Wisconsin; Katie Porter, California; Ayanna Presley, Massachusetts; Mike Quigley, Illinois; Delia Ramirez, Illinois; Jamie Raskin, Maryland; Deborah Ross, North Carolina; Raul Ruiz, California; C.A. Dutch, Ruppersberger, Maryland; Linda Sanchez, California; John Sabarnes, Maryland; Mary Scanlon, Pennsylvania; Janice Schakowsky, Illinois; Adam Schiff, California; Bradley Schneider, Illinois; Robert Bobby Scott, Virginia; David Scott, Georgia; Terry Sewell, Alabama; Brad Sherman, California; Darren Soto, Florida; Melanie Stansberry, New Mexico; Haley Stevens, Michigan; Marilyn Strickland, Washington; Mark Takano, California; Sri Fanador, Michigan; Mike Thompson, California; Benny Thompson, Mississippi; Rashida Tlaib, Michigan; Jill Takuda, Hawaii; Paul Tonko, New York; Norma Torres, California; Richie Torres, New York; Lori Trahan, Massachusetts; David Troon, Maryland; Lauren Underwood, Illinois; Juan Vargas, California; Mark Vasey, Texas; Nadia Velasquez, New York; Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Florida; Maxine Waters, California; Bonnie Watson, Coleman, New Jersey; Nikema Williams, Georgia; and Frederica Wilson, Florida. So first I have to take a little drink of water. It's quite the list. So why did we take 8 minutes, going on 9 minutes, and read a bunch of names to you who might not know many, if any, on this list? Well, the reason why is because what we are faced with as a nation and really as a world, we're always faced with dilemmas, how we should feel, how we should think on certain issues. And this particular issue should be bipartisan, meaning whether you're on the left, a Democrat, whether you're on the right, Republican, whether you're in the middle, whether you're a libertarian, independent, no matter where we fall, uh, we want to put ourselves, politically in a certain spot. The bipartisanship really and that's why we're doing this episode. Is it's really just blown my mind as I thought, done research. As an organization, we have to think about a lot of things, and one of those things is, should this information, should we as an organization even talk about it? Uh, we could touch on it, we could allude to it, or we can dive into it. And we're going to dive into this. This is one episode. It may turn into two because of information and because such breadth of what is going on. So, what do all of those 158 United States House of Representative members represent? Number one, the topic is the deportation of migrants for sex offenses. So we're talking about rape. We're talking about uh, taking photos, post them online of individuals that uh, have had sex offenses, either prior to coming into this country or being in the United States. And there's going to be much arguing, oh, we shouldn't be covering this as an organization. And you talk about being an organization for all and sharing all voices. Well, we are. And the voices we're going to be sharing and talking about are those of children, of people that are sexually abused. And as a parent of a daughter, I find it absolutely appalling that as we sit here at the outset of the year 2025, that we even have to think before we vote. Yes, we need to dig into legislation before we vote, but the deportation of migrants for sex offenses, all 158 names that I just read at the outset, because some of you might not tune in for the whole episode, or may uh, scrub your way through halfway through the episode. And so I wanted to be crystal clear at the outset of what we're doing, what we're talking about. And while people are being tried to be canceled for one reason or another, and those names are shared, so too are these 158 United States House of Representatives who, on the topic of deportation of migrants for sex offenses, all 158 voted no. All 158 of these individuals voted no. Now, not really trying to get into the left or the right, but what uh, this research uncovered was all 158 of these representatives are Democrats. So that's just a fact. This isn't us trying to make news, us trying to infer. We're not inferring when we're talking about facts. And the fact that here in the United States of America, we have 158 elected officials who you and I had opportunities to vote for. Now, maybe the individuals that I read their names off, maybe those individuals may be within your state, but might not be your actual area, right? So each area that we live in. So we live in the state of Ohio, and so Cleveland is broken up in different ways and have different representatives. And so again, the state maybe had been listed, but maybe the individuals aren't from your respective areas. But all that to say, the voting part is these individuals were all voted voted into office, however that may be. And all 158 of these individuals voted against whether we should deport migrants for sex offenses. So basically, we're talking about people. We're not trying to twist anything. People that aren't going through the legal process to become a U.S. citizen. And I hear, as well as you may hear, well, the United States is made up of immigrants, and my family, my grandparents, their parents, uh, you know, came over to the United States, but they went through the legal process to become an American citizen. So that's just one. That's fact one. Now we get into what the laws are. Well, sex offenses, whether you're a U.S. citizen or not, it really shouldn't matter. If you break the law, you pay. You pay the price. Uh, whether your case, not talking about you in general, but whether an individual's case goes in front of a jury of their peers or in front as a bench trial, or whether it goes through different appeals courts. Uh, that's when we talk about the laws here. So number one, are you legal? Are you going on the path uh, to become a citizen? That's just one. That's just thing one. As we're talking about migrants, okay. The second part is regardless whether you're an American or whether you're not, you break the law, you pay for your crimes. Yes, voices for voices. We do support second chance individuals who have made mistakes and are trying to come out on the other side of that a better person, reintegrate with society. So as you would have heard and seen in a previous episode where we interviewed Mr. Dan Flowers, President and CEO of the Akron Canton Regional Food Bank, we talked about actually Dan talked about, and as well as I did, how we can love a person but not like the action that was taken or what decision was made. And that's where we fall, where break the law, you do the time, and then coming out on the other side, then we can talk about reentry and ways that we can, as an organization or just as a human population, how we can help others. Uh, so we don't have to like the action. And so in this case, what we're talking about is sex offenses. So we don't like the sex offenses, breaking the law. We don't like that. American, non-American, full stop. So when we talk about migrants, we talk about illegal or whatever terms we want to call or have been named, through the news or through whoever you follow, whatever political side that you tend to follow. Uh, and so we're talking, right? We're talking about migrants, right? People that aren't going through or haven't gone through the process to become a U.S. citizen. and we talk about whether we should deport them for these or not. Well, I know, for instance, for me having a daughter, that whether the individual is American or not, I would want that person, if they did the crime, they need to do the time. It's an old cliche. You do the crime, you do the time. And I sure as all get out do not want an individual like that to be living near or around activities where individuals can uh, freely roam around, children, kids, uh, and then in specific your sex offenses. So that's how I feel. That's how the organization, uh, as we feel, and so that's why I took the 7, 8 minutes at the beginning, at the top of this show, to read off those 158 individuals, right? Right? So there are 158 elected officials in the United States House of Representatives, elected officials. I said that first and foremost before I even said it Democrat. So don't misconstrue things that, oh, Justin, he's talking, what's Democrat? And so we can flip this thing around. I talked about United States House of Representative elected members before I even said that they were all Democrats. So that has happened in the United States. That vote did take place. While there were 51 Democrats who sided uh, and said, hey, this is probably a good idea that we should deport migrants for sex offenses. And we highlighted again the 158. So we want to talk about numbers. Well, 158 is that number. And so how does this tie into David and Amanda Solomon? Well, we interviewed them last year, and we're going to be bringing them back here in 2025. See how they're doing. Uh, and as I mentioned, that the state of California was decreasing, meaning lowering. So particular trafficking crimes were, and now are, instead of them being felonies, which is a higher level offense, which could gain an individual more jail time, uh, higher fines, and decreases that to a misdemeanor. So that was something that was near and dear to David when he was talking about what he went through. And so we're not releasing any information of where their whereabouts are for security reasons, and whether whatever state that they reside in. The fact that that's even happening again, the fact that the United States of America has a state that is willing to just drop from felony to misdemeanor. I asked these 158 United States House of Representatives that voted against deporting people with sex offenses, or in the case of reducing crime level from felony to misdemeanor. I want to ask those individuals, ask those representatives. Well, go ahead then. Why don't you move in next door? Have these individuals as your neighbors. Live with them, interact with them. Don't have your private security or your Secret Service detail be like the rest of us, where we don't have those. Not a lot of people have the money, the funds to be able to uh, pay, security services to watch over us 24 hours a day, to scout out sites before we go, before we go shopping, before we go eat dinner or lunch or breakfast, or we're just traveling around town and have roads, shut down and having police escorts and those. So why don't we have those individuals, the ones that we listed, and the ones that unfortunately, as we move forward, are going to continue to fight these things and say, "Oh no, we shouldn't deport these individuals." Uh, Again, I would, you talk about Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, Ilhan Omar, these outspoken individuals, House of Representatives, have them take their security away, their private security that are, you know, you know, carrying weapons. They're, doing background checks. They're doing all kinds of things before an individual even meets those individuals. Uh, and there's a shroud of secrecy, the whereabouts, the movements are that are watched, and the individuals that past military, uh, maybe former Secret Service agents, what have you. But they're trained in keeping the asset, which is an individual in this case, keeping them safe. And so they're gonna do what they need to do to make that happen. So let's do that. If members of, whether it's the Senate or the House of Representatives or just anybody that feels that way, well, go ahead, move in these areas, uh, live with these individuals, and turn in, for a better term. You leave a job, so you leave your badge, your computer, all that. Leave your security at the door. Check your ego at the door. Leave the security at the door. And then let's maybe think about doing a vote. Give you a few years around individuals, and see how that really plays out. And you just might think a little bit different at that point, because when individuals are shrouded around with security, they're able to act a little bit like, well, I can vote like this, I can say these things, because I'm going to be secure because of my protective detail around me. Uh, the most of us Americans or individuals around the world, we're not able to have that luxury, and so that's why we talked about this for this particular episode. And where we're at time wise, it really flew, especially taking some time to share the names, because the names are important. We want to share the names of individuals so they can be held accountable, and they can be uh, promoted for what an action that they did. And we're going to have to go ahead and cut it here. And then we're going to come back with our next episode and continue the conversation. So until our next episode, thank you for joining us. This episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. I am host, founder, and executive director of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes. And please be a voice for you or somebody in need.